2017 is almost over, and it has come to my attention that there have been quite a few pretty good albums that have been released this year. So basically, this video is going to be talking about a whole bunch of different albums that have been released this year that I have enjoyed. We're going to have a mixed balance. I was just going to do just my top albums of this year, but I thought it would be good to get a nice mixture of some that I've had on repeat and others that I haven't really listened to that much. So I've got some physical CDs here. I do still buy physical albums because I just like having the physical thing in my hand. I like having the little booklet, right? I'm one of those people. So I've got a few physical albums. Some I don't have the physical album of, but on Spotify. I'm gonna start off with the albums that came out on top for me this year. So the albums that I've had on repeat and that I have loved dearly. And then we'll go into the ones that I've enjoyed but maybe haven't listened to as much as some of the others. Obviously, the first album that I've got to talk about is One OK Rock's latest album, Ambitions. This was released back in January, so it's been out for almost a year now, and it's not their best album, okay? This is the second album that they've released internationally. Second of two that you can access easily in the UK. It's in HMV. You can easily order it off of Amazon at a reasonable price. If you don't know One OK Rock, they're a Japanese rock band. And they're super big in Japan. They're huge. They sell out stadiums in Japan. But here, they're not so big, and they're only really just kind of breaking into Western countries. It's definitely more appealing, I suppose, to an international audience and to an audience from Western countries. Taka said in countless interviews that that was the sound they were trying to aim for. They wanted to make their music more accessible and easier to listen to for an international audience, which I'm sitting here I have no issues with listening to your older stuff, but obviously I think the vast majority of people would probably find their older stuff not as good. I don't know, their older stuff is the best. The most annoying thing about this album is that my two favourite songs from Ambitions are actually on the Japanese edition and are not on this edition. My favourite songs are 2020 and Always Coming Back, but they're not on this edition. But if I was to go off the international edition, my favourites probably We Are, Taking Off, One Way Ticket. I really like One Way Ticket. Bedroom Warfare. It's a good album for what it is, and I have listened to it a lot, but just compared to their other stuff, and even compared to 35, which was also released internationally, and there is an international edition, it just doesn't live up to that standard. But it's still a good album. It's still a good album. Another one of my favourite albums this year. This has probably been my favourite album that was released in 2017. Paris's second album, All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell. I always get confused. All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell. Paris are my second favourite band at the moment after One OK Rock. I have pretty much listened to them non-stop this year. I only really started listening to them probably this year. I had their debut album, White Noise, on repeat. I have listened to this non-stop. I saw them live not that long ago, a few weeks ago, and it was amazing. Probably the best gig that I've been to in 2017. It was just, I love them so much. Their music is just it's got a particular vibe to it, it's Paris. It's kind of a bit eerie and mysterious. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but that's how I feel it is. It's just so good. This album is just fantastic. My favourite songs, What's Wrong, that has become one of my all-time favourite Paris songs. I freaking love What's Wrong. Anyone Else, I wasn't too keen on Anyone Else in the beginning, but it's grown on me and it's actually one of my favourite songs at the moment. I keep putting it on. Walk Alone is really good as well. and No Mercy. I think they're my favourite ones. But it's a really, really great album. I love Paris so much. And look at this album. Like, check them out. It's just, oh, great. Next album that has came out on top for me this year is one that I don't actually have the physical copy, but I'll get it up on Spotify. Going Grey by the Front Bottoms. There you go. Oh shit. You can see it there. Yeah, I only started listening to the Front Bottoms this year. I feel like a lot of my favourite artists, like the artists that I've been listening to a lot this year, I only started listening to this year. I don't know, 2017 was a year of discovering new artists. So great. I love this album. It's probably my favourite Front Bottoms album, which is quite funny because my boyfriend Ryan got me into the Front Bottoms and he like hates this album. So, but I love it. It's like my favourite. Just a really good little catchy album. It's just really catchy. My favourite songs are Ocean, Grand Finale, Peace Sign, Don't Fill Up on Chips, and Raining. I basically listed half the album there, but it's really, really good. And I'm going to see them in February, and I'm very excited. Another album that I have listened to a lot is another one that I don't have a physical copy of, so bear with. That is The Peace and the Panic by Neck Deep. Again, I only really started listening to Neck Deep this year, and to be fair, I haven't even really listened to much of their older stuff. I've just been listening to this album, like, religiously. It is pop punk heaven. That is the only way I can describe it. Pop punk is my favourite genre of music. I love it so much. It makes me so happy. My favourite songs on this album probably would have to be Don't Wait, In Bloom, Critical Mistake, Happy Judgment Day as well, I think. Yeah, it's just like a really, really good, catchy. One more album that has given me complete and utter life this year. Taylor Swift's Reputation. I've been blessed by the music gods with this album, let me tell you. Okay, I've been a fan of Taylor Swift. I think I started listening to her not long after she released Fearless. It was in the Fearless era that I started listening to her. And I'm not gonna lie, Fearless and Speak Now, the best Taylor Swift eras. They will always be the best Taylor Swift eras. But no matter what style of music Taylor releases, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be listening, I'm gonna be like that bitch that is listening to Taylor Swift always. And this album is banging. It is banging. It's so different from any of her other stuff. I listen to it and it makes me feel so like badass. Just like I can do anything. My favourite songs on it are I Did Something Bad, Getaway Car. I fucking love Getaway Car. Like that is my, like, I've had that song on repeat. Also really like Dancing With Our Hands Tied, and This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things, and New Year's Day. New Year's Day sounds a bit like old Taylor, which makes me very happy. I'm also still like really obsessed with Ready For It. And now we're going to move on to albums that were released this year by some of my favourite artists, but didn't quite get me as hyped. However, there are still some good songs on, and I feel like maybe I just didn't give them enough time of day. When a new album comes out, I'll listen to it once, and obviously I'll get a general vibe for it, and there'll be like a couple of songs that'll grab my attention straight away, and then I'll have them songs on repeat. So say for example the Paris album, there were songs on there that I instantly loved, like most of the songs that they released prior to the actual release of the album, like What's Wrong, Heaven, Half, I really, really liked. There were other songs on the album though, when I first listened to it, like No Mercy, for example, that didn't really catch my attention in the beginning, but then the more I listened to the album, I was like, this song is like one of my favourite songs on the album now. So I feel as if maybe I just haven't listened to these albums through enough. So first off, we're going to start with After Laughter by Paramore. There are definitely some bops on here, and there are a few songs on here that I have had on repeat and that I keep going back to. So those songs are Rose Coloured Boy, Fake Happy, Paul, I really like Paul, quite like Idol Worship as well, and I also still really like Hard Times. The other ones I've not really became overly into. As I said, maybe if I listened to them more, I will. So kind of like Taylor Swift, I definitely prefer Paramore's older stuff. Like, I'm talking like first 3 albums, solid, yes. Their self-titled album has some of my favourite Paramore songs on, like Last Hope and Proof. Still Into You as well, like some of my favourite all-time Paramore songs on. This is kind of... none of the songs have... this is going to become one of my favourite Paramore songs ever. And I think that's why this album hasn't struck me as much. Keeping with the pop-punk theme and keeping with a band that I have loved for God knows how many years, Last Young Renegade, All Time Low. All Time Low are a band that I feel, no matter what they release, it's jamming. They probably are my favourite band to see live. They're the band that I've seen live the most. Like, their shows are just 10 out of 10. Last Young Renegade didn't, again, much like After Laughter, didn't come out on top for me. There are definitely songs on here that I have listened to a lot, that I've had on repeat. Last Young Renegade is actually, I think it's like, was my 6th or 7th most played song on Spotify this year. So, you know, there are songs on this that I really, really like. However, I don't find myself being like, oh, I want to go and listen to Last Young Renegade as a whole. The songs that I do really, really like on here, though, are obviously Last Young Renegade. I like Drugs and Candy. I like Dirty Laundry. Love Nice to Know You. I was like obsessed with that song at one point. I quite like Ground Control as well. There are a lot of songs on here that I do like and that I do think are pretty jamming. But it's just, for me, All Time Low have better albums. I've got 2 more albums that I want to talk about. Tell Me You Love Me by Demi Lovato. I wish I could say this was on top for me because Demi Lovato is my absolute queen. I love her with all my heart. She's my #1 inspiration in life. This album is a good album. Like, I feel like the albums that I'm mentioning are good albums, but there's just been some better albums. I don't know if it's just more the fact that I haven't listened to this all the way through as much as I have her previous albums. Again, didn't really hit the spot. My favourite songs on here though are Sorry Not Sorry, Sexy Dirty Love, Cry Baby, I really like Cry Baby, Daddy Issues, Hitchhiker. I like Instruction. Instructions on this is actually by Jax Jones and features Demi, but I didn't become obsessed with the album. But I love My Queen. And then the final album, which I definitely have not listened to as much as I should. This was, for me, the comeback of comebacks this year, okay? Musical comebacks. Shania Twain. Right, okay. Shania Twain. Now, her first album in like, oh God, I don't know, but definitely over 10 years. I think the album before this was Up, and I think that was released in like 2001 or something, so it's been a long time. I was very, very excited about this release and this comeback because I have listened to Shania Twain since I was really, really little. My granny got me into Shania Twain, and I remember one Christmas, I think it was Christmas, yeah, one Christmas she bought me 2 of her albums. It was Come On Over and Up. I've still got the albums, and I still listen to them daily. Like, I still listen to Shania Twain like all the time. And so I was really, really, really excited about this album. Kind of also a bit sad. My granny has since died, so like every time I listen to like any songs from here, I'm like, she's never gonna hear it. I don't know, it's quite like sad. I'm going to see Shania Twain in September on my own. Shania said like a few years ago that she was going to stop touring. And she said like she toured like, I think it was like America, was it last year, the year before or something, and she was like, yeah, this is my last tour. And then she comes to the UK, comes to Glasgow, and I'm like, bitch, I'm there. I thought I was never gonna like get to see her, but I'm so excited. I'm going on my own and I'm sad. So yeah, anyway, she released Now, and yeah, as I said, I haven't actually listened to it as much as I probably feel like I should, but my favourite songs, from what I can recall, Swinging With My Eyes Closed, I'm Alright, Per Me, yeah, Life's Facts Gets Good, We Got Something They Don't as well. Like, I need to actually listen to this album more, because some of these I'm like, I can't remember how that goes. I'm a fake fan, I'm sorry. Shania, I love you. I think that was all of the albums by my favourite artists that were released this year. Overall, it's been a pretty good year in music. My favourite album that was released in 2017 was definitely Paris's All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell. I'm gonna probably do this again this time next year. As far as I'm aware, I will probably have the new Water Parks album in that list. There should probably, hopefully, be a new Against the Current album. Hopefully a new Selena Gomez album. Wait, are we also getting a new 5 Seconds of Summer album next year? Please, please, because I need more Michael Clifford in my life. Feel free to comment down below what your favourite albums of the year have been, or maybe an album that didn't quite hit the spot for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Bye.